Right. Greetings. This is Gemini Brett of More Than Astrology and Sacred Astronomy, here to talk about this triple eclipse. I've been recording a series of eclipse astrology videos. You can find a ceremonial suggestion video, a 10-minute clip from a webinar we did for the Cosmic Intelligence Agency yesterday. You'll find that at my YouTube page. Just go to YouTube and search Gemini Brett. There's an eclipse shadow playlist that I'm slowly building. The first of the series was about eclipse cosmology. What is the moon? What is the sun? What is the earth? What is it when these three things align? And I just finished recording about 90 minutes of eclipse astronomy. Why isn't every new moon a solar eclipse? Why isn't every full moon a lunar eclipse? What are these lunar nodes, and etc.? So you can check those videos out if you'd like, if you haven't seen them. In this video, we're going to do some astrology. Let's astrologize. We're going to look at some charts together. So without further ado, let me share my screen and we will pop in to this beautiful image of day and night and the 12 signs and the deacons and all sorts of other wonderful things that I co-created with the amazing Anna Zaharia. And here, Astro Gold Software, triple chart, right? The three eclipses. This is a triple eclipse season that's coming on here. Let me pause this share real quick while I open another page. Great. I'll show you moonblink.info. Here's the eclipse playlist, by the way, on YouTube. I don't think you want to learn all of that. So you could just search Gemini Brett Eclipse Shadow Play and get there. Okay, moonblink.info. I mean, my favorite eclipse site online, astronomy site. On the left, once you come in, you'll click on Eclipse Search, and you can search eclipse for any day and all sorts of amazing things. But I'm just going to look for every eclipse in 2018. And we'll see that the first eclipse season, when the sun was at the south lunar node, January, February, we had a total lunar eclipse. I saw that one in Joshua Tree with a fantastic crew, followed by a partial solar eclipse. And now in the second eclipse season of 2018, we have a triple eclipse. When that happens, it's a partial solar eclipse and a total lunar eclipse and a partial solar eclipse. In the last video, Eclipse Astronomy, I spoke about Saros cycles, Saros families. If this is something you know about, which you'll see at Moonblink, you can click on these eclipse links and see where on Earth these eclipses can be seen. This first of the partial solar eclipses just in very southern, eastern Australia, Melbourne, and down in Tasmania. The lunar eclipse can be seen anywhere that it's light here. Some will see it rising, some will see it setting, some will see it in its full midnight totality. But anywhere where it's dark out during the time of the total lunar eclipse, we'll see it. In its totality, it's different in a solar eclipse where, like, here's the third of the eclipses. This is the partial solar eclipse on August 11th. And this one's seen up here in Scandinavia, looks like Greenland, very northern Canada, etc. Right? In some places, we'll see 60% of the sun eclipsed by the moon, some 40%, some 20%, many of us not at all. It's different with a solar eclipse, and I got into that in the astronomy video. But the one thing I will share here is that when we have a triple eclipse, solar, lunar, solar, it will be the very end of one Saros cycle of eclipses. This one began in 792. This is Solar Saros Series 117, a family of eclipses. The pulse is 18 years, 11 days, and 8 hours. So next came around in 810 and then 828. And this one will run all the way until 2054. Okay, here's now July 13th, 2018, July 12th in the west coast of the States where I am. and it will run till 2054, and already its kind of replacement has come around. This is Solar Saros 155, which began in 1928. And so 1928, 1946, 64, 82, 2000, 2018, 2036, 2054. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's count those actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, 18 years spaced, where both of these eclipses are here, and then the complete disappearance of the first that has now been replaced by this one. So when we have these triple eclipse windows, they're always centered around a total solar eclipse. Just to show you that family, Lunar Solar Saros 129, which began in 1351 and will run until 2613, coming around every 18 years, 11 days, 8 hours, the Saros periodicity. And this one became total in 1910. Here we are in 2018, and totality will end in 2108, when this family will become partial until its end in 2613. But so we have a total blood moon, a lunar eclipse very close to the nodes. That's the middle chart here, and you can see the moon at 444 Aquarius, very close to the south lunar node 553 Aquarius, also very close to Mars, 4th degree Aquarius. And I'll speak about that one in the next video, I think, because this one, I think I'm just going to talk about this inner circle, which is Solar Eclipse 1, July 12th or 13th, depending on where you are, 2018. In Cancer, solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse. Then we have the total lunar eclipse, and then a partial solar eclipse in Leo. Okay, a triple eclipse season, which will always be the changing of the guard, the end of one long-standing solar Saros family. They tend to last for about 1,280 years on average. The beginning of another one, right? And this is kind of this, we're in this 8 time every 18 years kind of period between what we see 1928 and 2054, where there's the end of one, the beginning of the next, and all centered around these total lunar eclipses. So there's a little bit of eclipse cycle energy. We're going to take this thing down to one chart and just engage with this solar eclipse. I've got this one cast for Seattle, Washington, where I live and currently sit. 7:48 p.m. It is not visible here. But regardless, I'm using a 0 Aries chart wheel, or what we call a natural chart wheel, which is we put a whole sign chart. Every sign gets a house, and we start with Aries. Why? Because Aries is the place of the rise, the east, and that's a tale for another time. You'll see many videos at YouTube, Gemini Brett, or following the Facebook page. And I'm actually going to be bringing out a masterpiece video sometime soon to address the weird 13th sign conundrum and why that's ridiculous and why creation creates in 12s. And we'll do a lot of astronomy, also decoding just what is the zodiac. But that for another time. I will say that Cancer is one of the keys. Here we have this Cancer solar eclipse, the third eclipse of the cycle in Leo. Well, traditionally, Leo ruled by the sun, Cancer ruled by the moon. What are we dealing with eclipses? The moon and the sun. So this is an amazing time when we have the nodes here in early degrees of Leo, north node or south node, or late degrees of Cancer, north node or south node. It is possible to have both a Leo and a Cancer solar eclipse in the same season, in the same eclipse season, in the same month, separated by one lunation, 1 month. So here we are, July 12th, 2018, at least Pacific time, and August 11th, 2018, the former being a Cancer eclipse and the latter being a Leo solar eclipse. And in these signs that have long been associated with the moon and sun, this is a magical happening. All right, what else do we see in this chart? This new moon, this solar eclipse, it's within 18.5 degrees of either node, and here's the north node at 6 degrees 40 minutes. So 20 degrees 40 minutes Cancer is 16 degrees away from the node. If a new moon is within 18.5 degrees of either north or south node, which are from Earth's point of view the places where the passive moon and sun cross, you have a solar eclipse. It's a partial solar eclipse. And what do we see? Opposite Pluto. Almost exactly. And speaking of nodes, we'll see a very important thing about this eclipse and Pluto's nodes. Before I go there, I want to point out some other things. So first of all, what is it that this eclipse is opposite Pluto? Well, eclipses and Pluto are both significant players in the realms of shadow work, aren't they? Pluto, who helps us, as I like to call him, the shamanic shakeup of the hidden hand, helps us significantly go into the underworld and recreate and rebirth and evolve. You know, there's a soul energy in Pluto. And I mean, Pluto becomes this very important planet, and he's far away, you know, pretty small. Used to be known as the last thing out there, but then we found Eris, and now Haumea, Maki. Eris and Haumea are very interesting, tied into this eclipse, which I'll show you in a second. I think one of the reasons why Pluto is so significant on a soul level, I feel like Pluto's realm astrologically is kind of what Saturn does in the real world, the visible world. Pluto does that in the world of the psyche, the underworld. And I think one of the reasons why Pluto's so involved with the Earthling is because Pluto's dance with the largest moon around Pluto, which is Charon, is the most similar of all the planets and moon relationships to that of Earth and our moon. Our moon is freaky big compared to Earth. Our moon is the 4th largest moon in the solar system, which is a huge statement considering how big Jupiter and Saturn are, right? Neptune, Uranus. Our moon is bigger than any of the Uranian moons, and there's 27 of those. Pluto's moon also freaky big, okay? And Pluto, the moon, looks 8 times bigger than our moon looks in our sky, and much bigger than the sun, where on Earth, our moon and sun seem to be the same size, which is one of the most amazing things that can produce the diamond ring of a total solar eclipse. And I got into that a bit in the astronomy video that I just put up a second ago. So this eclipse opposite Pluto brings power. Pluto in Capricorn, and that's been the gig since January of 2008. We are talking about evolution to the structures of this world, the trunk of the tree, the roots that drink deep. And when those structures are false, we are going to feel the wave, friends, and the release of the Kraken, as it said, you know. And so one of the things that happened in January 2008 when Pluto first ingressed Capricorn is global financial crisis. This debt-based fiat currency system is getting shaken up, and hopefully the structure systems in your world on a psyche level, on a soul level, are getting shaken up. We wish for a return to the true Capricorn ways, which has, you know, these days they say government, police, circle of grandmothers, the council of grandmothers, the wise elders, the ones intent on preserving the true ways of Earth for the 7 future generations. We've been disconnected from that for a long time. We've been destroying the elders who speak the words of Earth and have their ears tuned in, and we're learning to tune in more and more. And Pluto is bringing the opportunity for us to drink deep of Earth wisdom, and it's meant to be powerful, and it's not necessarily meant to be too easy, and it's going down now. And with this solar eclipse aligning opposite Pluto, it gets really significant. Cancer, home, family, Capricorn, tribe. And this axis of Cancer, Capricorn, it is very much about the world. The cardinal axis are about the world. It is about nations, and it is about governments and those things. So I don't want to get all sorts of like mundane astrology here, but we will see that this triple eclipse has significant happenings in the outer world mirror, but that is a mirror for our inner world. If we truly choose to engage with the soul growth, everything in this world is a mirror of our spiritual opportunity. One of the videos I posted was a ritualistic shadow play for ceremonial connection to the evolutionary opportunities offered by this triple eclipse season. 10 minutes long. If that's your thing, go over there, The ritual begins tomorrow or sometime this week. You know, don't worry if you're starting late, but you're going to make something, then burn it at the time of the lunar eclipse on July 27th. So check that out soon if you want to play along. So opposite Pluto, significant power, especially because this eclipse is on Pluto's nodes. And I'm going to get back to, I'm going to do that at the end. Okay. Mars retrograde at the south node. And Mars is really the key being here, because the total lunar eclipse, right, which is always the total eclipse of a triple eclipse, partial solar, total lunar, partial solar. If there's a lunar eclipse conjoined a planet, that planet will always be retrograde because it means it's opposite the sun. And that's the time in the outer planet's middle of its retrograde period. This is Mars. Closest to Earth as Mars has been since 2003. That might not sound like such a big deal until you hear that 2003 brought Earth and Mars closest as they had been in 60,000 years. This is a close, bright, dark red, beaming, powerful Mars, okay? So the lunar eclipse with Mars at the south node, and we're talking about past stuff in Aquarius, you know, revolutions, not away from that, but growing from that energy. And the solar eclipse to start the triple eclipse period, opposite Pluto. Pluto and Mars, the modern and traditional planets associated with the sign of Scorpio, where Jupiter is now, Jupiter having stationed direct yesterday. So Jupiter is slow, parked, steady, right? Jupiter has been in Scorpio since October 10th, 2017, and will remain there until November 9th, 2018. Went retrograde between March 8th, 9th, 2018 and July 10th, 2017, and now is moving forward again, but very slowly, basically parked, checking out this scene in a trine, though loose, with the new moon, the solar eclipse in Cancer, and with Pisces, Neptune. Jupiter will apply and perfect a trine with Neptune, a third of this year, coming soon to a theater called You. But very importantly, given this, the lunar eclipses, the total lunar eclipses, proximity to Mars, who squares Jupiter now, and this solar eclipse's proximity in opposition to Pluto, who's in a loose but a sextile with Jupiter now, given the traditional and modern associations of Mars and Pluto with the Scorpio mysteries, we are talking about getting scorpionic. And I love that Pluto Jupiter is stopped. The fixed signs in general for me, the mantra is fix yourself to fix the world. And Scorpio does this in the way of the heart, the art of the heart, my passions, my desires, my excitements. And as I like to say, in the Scorpio mysteries, we can shift from suppression culture, which says suppress your feelings, your anger, your passions, everything. I can serve the suppressed to control me, or I can control the expressed to serve me. I can fix myself by being authentic in my heart and therefore create a more authentic reality where how are you doing is not a greeting, but rather a caring question. All right. So Jupiter's a very key figure in this eclipse. Square Mars, loose, and Mars is separating from that square. Square Mercury, loose. It looks like Mercury is separating from that square, but Mercury is about to station retrograde and will travel retrograde. Even by the time of the lunar eclipse, Mercury is retrograde and still will be during the third solar eclipse in Leo, and Mercury will be pretty close by, having passed the sun for Cazimi to start his new cycle, his 4-month cycle. Mercury's currently in an Aries cycle that began April Fool's Day 2018. Aries, Mars. Venus is currently in an Aries cycle. Mars. The Venus cycle began March 2017, late March 2017, the sign of Aries. Okay, so there's a lot of hidden Mars in this thing too. Chiron having recently ingressed Aries, and at this time, for all three of these eclipses, retrograde in Aries, all right? Mars. It has a lot of Martian energy. And I think Jupiter and Scorpio is giving us like pause to really come in to fix our water and to free our water. The drought in this world, because there's drought. It'll rain from the skies when it rains from our eyes. When we truly learn to express, and not just like the crazy, raw, emotive tidal wave, though that's a beautiful part of like stopping to bury the thing, but coming into our powerful, controlled expression, alchemical, honoring our shadow and our light, which is what eclipses are about anyway, and profoundly connecting. All right. But where will it show up? Well, Cancer, family, tribes, shadow patterns that I've been bearing that, you know, came in from when I was young, or maybe past lives, especially with Pluto involved when I was young then, you know, deep patterns of expectations of how we're meant to be in our culture and our family. These are the things that we're looking to bring light by honoring that shadow, and Jupiter's doing a tremendous service, as will Mercury retrograde. Mercury in Leo, right? A confident experience and expression of self, a communication of the fire ways. Fix myself to fix the world, and the fire of self-love is the gift of love to the world. Well, Mercury retrograde will say, let's go back and see those who said we weren't allowed to shine, and choose to re-engage and release and compost and rewrite those rules, so shine we do. All right. So you can hear more about that in the ritual video, 10 minutes long. If you want to go check that out, it's up on YouTube. It's on my Facebook page, Gemini Brett. I guess I'm Brett Joseph actually on Facebook. Anyway, Mercury's in a very powerful place actually right now as I'm recording. Mercury's maximum elongation, furthest distance from the sun. This is the bearded sage phase of the Mercury cycle that began April Fool's Day in the sign of Aries. And now Mercury in the sign of Leo as an evening star, literally visible, which is not always the case, not usually the case for Mercury. He's got a message to deliver, and he will now retrograde, dive under the beams of the sun, get combust, align between Earth and the sun, and begin his next cycle, 4-month cycle in the sign of Leo. Fire, manifestation, Leo, will, hara, roaring flame of light. And there's something about Mercury who will square Jupiter thrice during his retrograde and shift direct, okay? Where we're looking at Leo life and Scorpio death, and Pluto and Mars are probably very excited about that business. And it's a wonderful place for us to go into our shadow, find the magic and the power there, bring it to the light for great growth, okay? But we want to be grounded when we do this. And thank you, Grand Earth Trine. Saturn, who had a homecoming in Capricorn on December 19th, 2017, who was Cazimi's son, to begin a Capricorn cycle for the first time in 27 years or so on December 21st. December solstice 2017. Saturn now retrograde, the old ways of how we did Capricorn. What was it before these governments and police? What was it when Earth herself spoke to us in our language, which is hers? Our bones are her stones, how we are meant to be. Saturn is asking us to tune back into the nature way. And while Capricorn is the trunk and the roots that drink deep in that Scorpio water down there, Virgo is the leaf that reaches for the light and does the inner work, the spirit of the earth, while Capricorn is the earth's science. So Venus in Virgo, where she's said to be in her fall. Why? Because her relationship there is to spirit, is to her yoga, is to her sacred work. And it's a profound and beautiful thing for us to have Venus in Virgo at this time of a Cancer, Aquarius, Leo, triple eclipse season, to bring us into the ground, to remind us to be in our practice, in our bodies. The body is the temple. Take time to sit, be in nature, touch a tree, watch for the symbols, listen to the birds and the earth. A raccoon walked by here during the day today, which I don't usually see. That's a very important symbol for me, right? Play with the symbols, but be in the body. Move, don't get too fixed and static. Let the water flow, get in the flow. There's a lot of energy in eclipse seasons. Extra energy when we have a total lunar eclipse conjoined Aquarius, Mars, a very rare place for Mars to retrograde. I'll speak about that when I speak about the lunar eclipse. Astrology. Uranus, who's recently ingressed, it was May 15th, 2018, into the sign of Taurus, where he will be for about 7 years, but Uranus will, in August 2018, retrograde, head back on November 6, 2018, into Aries for some unfinished business before stationing direct there and coming back into Taurus to stay for some time, about 7 years, in March of 2019. So, though Uranus is in Taurus, and very importantly in this grand Earth trine with Virgo Venus and Capricorn Saturn, we're also in with Uranus Sun, their synod. We're in an Aries cycle that began in April. Aries cycle for Uranus, for Venus, for Mars, or sorry, for Mercury. A lot of Mars. Mars himself in a Leo cycle that began July last year, exactly about opposite where he is now. And I think I'll speak more about that when I get into the lunar eclipse later on. Right now, I'm going to focus on this chart and how we can anchor in and connect our intentions here. Virgo, the leaf, the spirit of the earth. Capricorn, the trunk, the roots, the science of the earth. Getting grounded, rooting in. And the bridge between science and spirit is the art, Taurus. Fix yourself to fix the world. Art sign, fixed earth, body, embodiment, sensuality. Uranus is asking for a revolution in this way now. Get out of this idea that Taurus is the bull. Are you serious? Earth, chalice, down and in, yin, feminine, embodiment, play, tasting, touching, smelling, hearing, especially touching, intimacy as an art form. It's loose, but Jupiter and Scorpio opposite across the way. Okay, we are talking about revolutions and expansions of this axis, which is about embodiment, sensuality, sexuality, passion, expression. And Virgo Venus doesn't say be a virgin, avoid. No, the virgin has nothing to do with chastity. It means unmarried. The priestesses of old, the virgin priestesses of old, were in no way celibate. And I'm talking about hundreds and millennia of years of the priestess practice in the temple of sacred sexuality, long before this patriarchal twisting where now priestesses were buried alive for breaking oaths of chastity and later converted to nuns or burned at the stake with the Scorpio sorceresses. These days are done. We are coming back to a visible, profound magic. We are shifting out of bringing the light out of the shadow of these happenings by having perhaps even gratitude that they have, because they've caused this thing that's giving us the energy to open eyes, arise, awaken. But it is time for us to shift, and it starts in our body, knowing our beauty, to bring beauty into the world, seeing the beauty of the world even amidst all of this turmoil, getting out to the forest, wrapping your arms around a tree, smelling a rose deeply, and then being that fragrance, bringing that power into the world as a sacred act, as a service, as a practice, Virgo, feeding back into the way that we root and bring new structures into this world, Capricorn. Pluto will hear that through Saturn. Beam that to Earth and Moon on the other side, who are receiving energy from Jupiter and Scorpio, from Neptune and Pisces, has been calling for so long for global healing, reminding us that we are one. We are spirit. But soul, moons, function, as I've described in the cosmology video, to reflect spirit into this individual experience. So here in Matter Earth, I can be me and you can be you. So we can heal, feel, know, grow in our own way. And from this subjective experience, give more to the all that is. Yeah. But Cancer asks us to do this and look into the family signatures, our blood, our tribe. What is family? And many of us will realize, especially in, astrology, these spiritual practices where we're kind of weird, whatever. that we're not like much of our family. Mars retrograde in Aquarius, South Node in Aquarius. Have you also felt black sheep? Have you felt a little bit isolated in your call and your cause to bring a humanitarian change to the world and speaking to deaf ears until you learn that perhaps it's not about trying to shake others awake, but simply tuning into self? And as you do, though, through that isolation experience, if I'm different than everyone else, we tune into our practice, we find our beauty, we root, we anchor, we learn to express authentically. We learn Mercury and Leo in his visibility to be creative, that we do manifest our reality, and we start bringing in and calling in our true tribe, our chosen family. It's a different thing. And may every being know what it feels like to be in community, in circle, in consortium. These are intentions to set at this time with any Cancer new moon, and this is a powerful one, friends. Ending up, Leo Mercury, who will retrograde, he's right at the point, very close to the point where the partial Leo eclipse, the third eclipse of the triple eclipse season, will be. Look at me, and he'll pass that point, he'll retrograde, you'll see it thrice. Thrice great. That's the goal, coming back into our radiance, Leo, our creative artistic expression. And now we're looking at, okay, we want to be in tribe and family and support and safety and trust, to open our heart and express, because that's where so much of the magic comes from. Who said you couldn't? Who says you can? Embrace all of that and choose to know what it is to feel held, to hold, to be in family, to be in tribe, to be in support, to know you have crew, even you weirdo astrologer people. There's many like you. And I'm glad to know that we are connecting, at least in this way, Aquarian way, you know. But let's make sure also that we connect with our people, embody, hold hands, the 19-second hug, co-creating, playing, music, art. Yeah. This is a way where we create the world, where we release ourselves from the pain of, you know, family experiences that maybe did not perform the way that we would wish they did, but they were the root and the source of our awakening. We don't go away from that. We grow of that and out of that. But sometimes it's important for us to stop trying to mold the family or parent our parents into what we need them to be, but instead just invite and accept and open ourselves up to and make ourselves available to new family and chosen family, crew, and bringing that in. And the chart is aligned to say, I shall help you find light in this shadow. If you feel the pain of black sheep, of aloneness, if you are willing to do the work and repattern and now manifest true acceptance and invitation of real family in this world, we will reconnect in group, in larger group, in tribe, nation, and we will realign this world to the voice of Earth. She has not forgotten us. She's not angry. This is all part of the thing. We are moving parts, cells of she. And this is a time where we begin to realize this. We've realized that there are things that we do, including these computers that we use, Aquarius, that aren't so great for Earth, Capricorn, aversion. But how can we be Earthlings and technologically awakening beings in harmony, in residence, in their resonance as residents? And there are functions energetically in this chart that speak of that balance and the emerging consciousness that will help us now, I'll say Uranus and Taurus, actually tune our creative, inspired, inventive, technological self into technologies that actually support Earth. And I think she tells stories about all the ones that even have hurt her, do that too, for she is also on a soul evolutionary quest. It's just time for us to do this in our own lives and as tribe and as Earthlings in a more conscious way. And things are shifting and they're available to us. So Venus says, love your practice. Be in your yoga, be in your sacred work. Mercury says, love you and create confidently and speak your truth and fill you with you. Scorpio, Jupiter says, get into the art of your heart. Do not suppress, express. Saturn, Capricorn says, ground and be real. Yeah. Pluto and Capricorn says, let's change what real is. And this new moon across the way. Well, Aquarius, Mars, close to Earth, bright red, seeding a revolution, a significant shift. And Neptune and Pisces, glue, heal, we are one. Chiron and Aries, healing that bit where we feel divided from everything because we're meant to, so we can have a personal experience. Okay, I'm going to shift over and show this in Intrepid software where I have the ability to show you that Vesta here in Sagittarius is in quincunx to the moon. I've just show you that I'm not going to speak so much of, I'm not going to speak about it, but I will say that Ceres is with Venus. And so the goddess Venus, connecting to Ceres, goddess of crop, the biggest piece of that belt between Mars and Jupiter, Mars in Aquarius, Jupiter in Scorpio, and this Virgo being another quincunx here with Mars, bringing us into the art. And I think where is the practice and embodiment, feeling like it is lost if we get into the mind and our revolutionary impulse in that regard. But how can we balance the two? The mind is a terrible thing to waste. What is the beautiful mind and the body mind, Virgo? And how do we connect those two streams? And there's something about our harvest and the crop, reaping what we sow. And Virgo doing our, more important than our work, our sacred work, our practice, our yoga. Juno right with Uranus. And in Ceres with Venus, Juno with Uranus, Saturn, and see how much stronger that early degrees of the earth signs grand trine just became. Juno, relationship, and Taurus, she says, remember, part of this thing is about being held and being touched and touching and loving. Don't only go into the mind. Don't let your wounds keep you from opening yourself. Pallas Athena in Leo at the first degree, opposite this Mars. She says part of the strategy in Leo is to love ourselves. And I'll leave that there for now. Eris. Well, let me show you the Black Moon Lilith, who's now in Capricorn. It's an interesting glyph for Lilith in this software. So the moon at this eclipse is opposite Lilith. Lilith is the far point of moon's orbit. Well, I'll leave that there. So when the moon is at Lilith, it's slow, it's far, it's small. When the moon is opposite Lilith, like now, it's close, it's big. This is a super moon eclipse. And the lunar eclipse will be near Lilith. So it's going to be a small moon, which means Earth's shadow has more time to cover the moons. It's a more total lunar eclipse. And then the solar eclipse on August 11th, also opposite Lilith, who at that point will be in Aquarius. And so again, it's a super moon. That's what happens when moon is opposite Lilith. And when the new moons or whatever. So these are super moon solar eclipses, micro moon lunar eclipse, which actually makes the lunar eclipse more of a thing. It's powerful. All right. What is Lilith? One thing I'll say is that, as in my cosmology, moon is soul, earth is matter. Lilith is, in a way, projects to the point where soul is most separated from matter. We're talking about times where, you know, we're resisting the embodiment a bit. That's going to be alive in the lunar eclipse. But at the time of the super moons, the two partial solar eclipses on either side, July 12th, 13th, and August 11th, we're talking about being close to Earth, getting into the body. In Cancer, it is creator. The feminine is creator. Show me a man who ever gives birth. It's not going to happen. The yang is creation. And people get lost in thinking that is creator because we can see creation. We don't see creator. Yeah. So we're talking about mysteries that come alive if you contemplate things like eggs and semen, and we don't need to necessarily go there right now, but there's a lot of beings who are opening these mysteries for us now if we choose to engage. And if you're in places where you can see these eclipses, go watch them, because they hold these codes that really can't be shared in words. All right, this eclipse is right at Pluto's north node. So Pluto, opposite the eclipse, is at Pluto's south node, which is pretty common, right? It happens every 250 years. What? And it's happening on this day. I mean, at this time. So let me bring you into the astro soup for a second, and I'll show you a thing about that. Eclipses are about nodes. Usually when we have a new moon, as we do every month, it's not an eclipse because from our point of view, moon will be above or below the sun. For some reason, I actually know why. November 3rd, 1987, thank you. But let's go to now. And so here's July 11th, and here we see moon coming between Earth and sun, and so we have an eclipse. But the moon comes between Earth and sun every month, and we don't always have an eclipse because all the planets, including on the moon, are on their own plane. They're not all on the Earth-Sun plane, which is the ecliptic. We extend that plane out towards infinity. We have the constellations of the zodiac, like here's Aldebaran on the face of the bull with the Pleiades on its back, and Orion, who holds its club to the plane at the June solstice degree, and here's the twins, and we could go on and on and on. If you know the stars, you know that's Sirius. But the moon snakes above and below the sun's path at the nodes every month. That's what I spoke about in the astronomy video, okay? So we only have eclipses twice a year when the sun is close to either the north or the south node, about 6 months separated. This is Pluto's path, and Pluto is one of my favorite teachers of the nodes. So here's Pluto now, and Pluto is just crossing the ecliptic plane. Okay. So the moon descends from northern latitude to southern latitude every month at the south node of the moon. Pluto does this every 248 years about. It is a very crazy elliptical orbit, and he's doing it now. So let's fast forward a day and a bit and get to this time of the eclipse, which all I have to do is show that here we are. Oh, hot, sorry. Moon between Earth and sun, right? Uh-oh, I'm not sure I know how to get out of that. That seemed to work. Okay. And check it out. Mars is retrograde, so that means Mars on the opposite side. Well, let me push a few buttons and see if I got stuck in some kind of view. Okay, let's try that again. So here's sun, moon, Earth, a new moon. And there's Mars. That's Mars retrograde because Earth is passing Mars by. And now we look sun, moon, Earth, Pluto. And they are all strongly aligned. And truthfully, for the first time in our lives, that sun will see Earth occult or eclipse Pluto. In a sense, Earth, especially from the sun's point of view, because Earth is so much closer to sun, is way bigger than Pluto. Earth is bigger than Pluto by far anyway, but given the proximity of Earth to sun and the vast distance of Pluto from sun, this is not to scale, obviously. Earth can occult or eclipse Pluto from sun's point of view at other times. But look, let me rewind time and I'll just yank Pluto. Well, I can't. Hold on. More buttons. I'll just pull Pluto if I can up here. And I'll find my way, if I find my way, to 1980, 1981. That is when Pluto was at Pluto's northern bending, maxed out in northern latitude. Okay, so let me tune into the Earth-Sun plane. And for the most part, the solar system is relatively flat until we get out to Pluto and beyond. And look at how far above, or at least north of, because from the southern hemisphere that would be below or closer to the Earth, Pluto is in that time. So this time we're actually, Pluto was even closer to the sun than Neptune, and there's all sorts of things happening there. But in regards to Pluto, I mean, imagine you have sun, earth, moon at this time. Let's make that happen, actually. I'll just yank earth over here. And Pluto is in Libra, so this is going to be solar eclipses or new moons. Anyway, somewhere around here. I can't get it exact just because of what was going down that year. But you get sun, moon, earth, Pluto, and they can be aligned in the zodiac longitudinally, but by latitude, it's not even kind of happening, right? I mean, the sun's like, oh, cool, this thing's happening, and there's Pluto. Well, right now, I mean, the sun can probably see through things and do whatever it wants to, but physically speaking, with this solar eclipse tomorrow, Earth is eclipsing Pluto. And again, this could have happened like the last few years and the years coming up in some senses that we haven't had eclipses opposite Pluto, so kind of not anyway. Because Earth is so much bigger than Pluto, and especially from the sun's point of view. But this is a profound thing. I will say this also for folks who were born in 1980, 1981. Well, 1981 by Saros-cycle was related to last year, and this year has connections to 82, 36 years later. But folks born in 80, 81 with Pluto up here and bending in Libra, with Pluto now in Capricorn, let me just zoom to right now. Pluto is squaring the degree of the zodiac in Libra where Pluto was in this 80-81 time. So you're entering the great life cycle initiation called Pluto square Pluto. In this time of like 37, 38, you'll also be experiencing Saturn square Saturn and a nodal return. And if you look at the astronomy video that I just posted, Eclipse Astronomy, you'll see the nodal return windows and the Saros eclipse and the metonics, all sorts of things. It's a powerful time for anyone. And I will say especially for beings at this time who were born with Pluto way up there at the bendings. This is powerhouse stuff. You friends, you 1980-81 friends, we are I'm one of these beings, 1975, of the mini generation of Pluto and Libra. Pluto by sign, slow roller. So it's these mini generations. It tends to speak of a shared evolutionary quest, Pluto and Libra, the devotion to bring complete shakeup and rewrite our relationship to relationship itself. Libra, communication, partnership, peace, to put all these things, right? And when the Pluto square Pluto comes around, which for our generation is happening around 36 to 39 years old, somewhere in there, about a 20-month window, it's like the sleeper cell of the Pluto cause is awakened. Now it will awaken much earlier in some beings and not at all in most beings probably, depending on your natal signatures and visible planets to Pluto on your natal chart. But as far as the generational quest, I'm seeing these 80-81 folks with Pluto way up at the bending, and now having the Pluto square Pluto happening, some of you, it will be exact with this total solar eclipse opposite Pluto on Pluto's nodes. Gratitude, friends. And what is one of the things that we're talking about in bringing evolution of peace? Well, let's look at these systems. Let's look at this patriarchal happening. There's a few friends of mine I have in mind who are in this 80-81 time, who are really working on those relationship things. One of them, actually, he's got this solar eclipse opposite his sun tomorrow. And what's that mean? Pluto's on his sun right now. So he's actually not one of the 80-81 beings, but he's getting married in a few days, right? Eclipses don't have to be some death and painful thing. They can really bring life and birth and beauty. So don't trip on that. Pluto as well. But there's something about significant restructuring in the Capricorn soils where the trunk is planted for the Libra air to open through this tension of square and bring true balance and peace. And some of you 80-81 folks, 79, 82. In that zone, like, you are deep emissaries, and thank you for the work you are choosing to do. If you are engaging with the song of your soul, your natal chart at this time, because I imagine it's not the easiest thing, but it's a powerful time, and these eclipses will quicken and accelerate the process. And remember, we are one, says Neptune in Pisces. So you are doing this for all of us, and deep bows of gratitude. You're beautiful. All right. Let me share one more thing about this eclipse. And actually, let's go to the more modern expression of solar system scope here. Took it away because I like using the old one, which I was just able to retrieve, because once I get out to the outer solar system, I lose my inner planets. It's a little more realistic. But look at these orbits. This is Eris and Haumea and Maki, these other planets that are further, trans-Plutonian, further from Sun than Pluto. But, and I don't know that I'll be able to align this too well for us to be able to see. Yeah, let's just look at it on a chart. Well, let's see. Where is Eris? Eris, Pluto. Okay, now let's look on the chart. So here is Sun Moon at the north node of Pluto, and that means Pluto opposite is at his south node. I should say as well that the north node of Saturn and Jupiter live in Cancer too, and this eclipse is very close to Saturn's north node, where Saturn is close to Jupiter's south node. And Jupiter is very close to Saturn's bending and is right at, well, I'll leave that there. We don't need to get too nerdy. So, but one thing I want to show you is this. Here's the solar eclipse. We know it's a solar eclipse because it's a new moon close enough to the nodes. Opposite Pluto, at Pluto's nodes. And Eris, who's been in Aries for a long time and is for all of us, is on this square. Not too strong, but strong, 2406. And here's Haumea, another one of these trans-Plutonian planets, who's very closely aligned to the star Spica, 24th degree Libra right now. And I mean, just check out that grand square, cardinal square. This is where the four blood moons, the tetrad of blood moons, 2014 to 2015, they aligned close to here. We've been working on this Uranus-Pluto square, all these things. This is real in the totally invisible, tiny, way out there, strange orbit realm. What does that mean for you? It's almost the furthest thing from Cancer, and therefore it's right at home. That's how the trickster wants to play. So I'll just show you that at the time of the eclipse, notice how Sun and Moon are at this point past Pluto. Pluto's at 20 degrees and they're at 20 degrees, 41 minutes. Okay. So though it's partile, we use that word now for the same degree of this opposition of the new moon and Pluto. It's also separating from it, especially Moon, who will move quickly. But they are carrying the light, if we just look at this square, from Pluto to Haumea to Eris. Eris, sister of Mars, who threw the golden apple into the wedding of Pelus and Thetis that she was not invited to, and started in that golden apple marked Callisti for the fairest, this feud between Hera, Juno, this revolution, we might even say, Aphrodite and Venus and Pallas Athena, Minerva. Eris is a very important study and, a new being for us to connect to. I'll show you Sedna as well, because she has an interesting thing happening at the Pleiades and on the Trine to Lilith. But Haumea, Haumea is creator goddess of Hawaii. I mean, she basically, her body is the islands. And I don't want to speak too much about something I don't know. I will say I was born with my Venus like partile conjoined Haumea, and I went to Hawaii to have Venus ceremony when I turned 40 and a Venus return. It was actually a time when Venus, Mars, and Jupiter were all together, and a Mercury return for me too, and I saw them all from Haleakala, the house of the sun. But I didn't know at that time that my personal Venus is so connected to Haumea. It was an amazing thing to find out later. It's like, I guess that's why I was called there. The goddess of the land, the one who gave her body for us to live upon, for our bodies to be made of her. And in a sense, we're also speaking of Gaia, of Earth herself, yeah? So there's a lot of angst and energy. I mean, obviously, we could say that any day of the week about the world out there. Are you feeling it in this world? And how are you grounding that and rooting your energy so that this electricity and this strange, mysterious shadow happening, which allows us to bring great light, how can we be in our own earth self, in our spiritual leaf, in our grounded trunk, and the roots that drink deep, and the fruit and the flower that wants to be pollinated and play, so that we can connect to these energies and change the world here in our close communities, in our families, in our tribe, in the nation, in the world itself, to come out of strife and into incredible cardinal shift. And may it be. So I'll be participating with a compost board and burning it and earning it in a creation board, as I describe in this ritual video that you can go check out. I guess I'll share just quickly. Where would that stuff be? Again, moonblink.info, wonderful place to go play on YouTube. There's 3 of these shadow eclipse videos. I have tons of videos on YouTube. I've been posting too much there lately because it's so easy to go live on Facebook, but I intend to more. It takes more effort, but whatever. Morethan.astrology.com is my website. At the site, you'll find a free newsletter at the home page. You'll find a sacred astro course where I'm teaching sacred astronomy for astrologers. And the first 12 lessons are free, but you can't get into the second without the password, which is the answer to the first lesson's test questions. The test questions are pretty easy. 7 minutes will get you there. And then you come into the second, and there's 12 of those. There will be 72 videos altogether. And I hope you'll come play with the free lessons. This is grounding the heavens, Uranus, to the earth, Taurus, and making our astrology real, experiential, sentient, embodied. All right. Also at my page, morethan.astrology.com, you'll find a donate button. For me, it will share screens and charts and do these things for free. I have to spend not only my life in study, but a lot of time building images and whatnot, but also $40 a month just to pay for this ability to broadcast a webinar and show stuff like this to you. And so we say, well, do a Patreon page and organize things and get paid and recoup, and sure. But I also just from my heart and place of love like to share. And I'm glad you're here to receive. And you can help me out a ton just by liking this video and sharing it around and leaving a comment and saying, hey, dude, thanks. That means a ton. It really lifts my heart. I'm never married to the expectation of that. Actually, like, Facebook's a really good place to like help release us from this need to be received. It's been great training for me in that regard. It's really, in a sense, good Cancer training. It hasn't come in yet, but I think like looking at this Cancer solar eclipse opposite Pluto, into bullying and were you a fit in college, in high school, or wherever you are, all that stuff's a really rich place to play, actually. So go there too. But if you can afford to and you'd like to give back financially, you'll find that donate button at morethan.astrology.com. You'll also find a services page. I do private consultations. I'm pretty busy right now in creations, and I'm moving. So catch me if you can in that regard, and I hope you will. It's one of my favorite things to do. But maybe my favorite thing to do is to teach, and especially bringing this sentient, experiential, astronomical energy to astrologers. People hear that from me a lot without, I think, hearing me speak correspondences and what we think of astrology that much. So hopefully you've had some fun with that, with us looking at some charts and astrologizing together. I hope you have a blessed eclipse and that you set intentions in a grounded way and truly open yourself for great quickening and accelerated change, because that is available to us now. Absolutely. And I will find the time to create a video like this for the total lunar eclipse in a couple weeks and the partial solar eclipse in Leo that will end the triple eclipse season on August 11th. For now, this is your friendly astronaut, Gemini Brett, signing off. My friends, I will see you in space. Love and planets to you.